Well, I figure it's about time I expanded on the spirit and truth of my colorism series. In the very last video of that series, I said, quote, "The culture is black, not the human." Hold on to that. If you think this is simply about a man who doesn't want to associate with an ethnicity with black, then you haven't listened to my colorism videos, like, at all. As a matter of fact, the series called Why Is It Always About Race with Black People? That series shows exactly how much I care about destroying racism and false narratives associated with it. You can hear it in my voice, in all honesty. From my ancestors who were brought here, I am bound by literal blood to black culture. I have been discriminated against and marginalized because there is a white culture that doesn't care for my black culture. And since the culture is made up of people, then black people are and will always be the people I have the most connection to. Because not only does every culture seem to combine people by the way they live and talk, it also creates a sense of familiarity. The root of that word is family, which is why we in black culture are not as comfortable in other cultures, white, Asian, etc. And those cultures are not comfortable with us. Black culture is my family. It's what I know, but it's not all that I know. And that has made a world of difference in my consciousness. Art raises consciousness. Things you didn't see before are suddenly made apparent. Even things you saw all the time, you suddenly see differently. By doing these videos, I grew as a human being. I had a feeling that would happen because I did this channel as a service to other people. In particular, the disenfranchised and the beaten down, the ignorant, the depressed, the fearful, and even the weird. All those things, I'm only speaking about myself. In each video, I spoke about my life, and I have a right to do so. The truth makes itself evident, and it turns out we are all ignorant until we learn. We are all scared until we overcome and accomplish. Depression and sadness is part of life because there is no concept of joy and happiness without depression and sadness. You need sorrow to see what kind of hope your mind comes up with. You'll always be weird to someone else, so may as well be the best you possible because no one else can do it. And being disenfranchised and beaten down are mere moments that can be completely turned around with time, intellect, ingenuity, and strength of will. My culture, my family has shown that to be a universal truth, not just for humans, but for animals as well. Because at the end of the day, nature will show you what's real. Black culture and white culture both have had hands in making me the man that I am. I was told to be 3 times better than my white counterpart. That's due to the systemic racism and hidden racists that permeate the fabric of American society. It's white culture I was up against. Always. Then I noticed that I also had to watch out for misguided, desperate, so-called black people in my own culture. I learned how to code switch. All of us so-called black people do. Using your white voice to get a job. Whitewashing resumes. Making white people feel comfortable because who you really are might scare them off. Ain't that some shit? You know, it reminds me of the book Incognito. But it's the truth. Bullshit or not, it's the truth. In black culture, we learn early how to be a covert operative in a race war. One that's been going on well before the first so-called blacks ever got here. Because the natives were the first victims of white culture and forced subjugation and so-called white supremacy. Oddly enough, even though there are written records of slave ships and cargo, there are very few actual slave ships that we've ever found. It's tough being an operative. So many unanswered questions. But you press on. I'm super passionate and I love hard. Instructed by my parents on how to succeed in this race war, I've done everything I needed to do. Educated myself, graduated, joined the military so I could become worldly. Tried college for 2 weeks but got bored and worked odd jobs and eventually learned a trade and made more money than a ton of college kids. I scraped and saved and invested and retired at 38 years old. I positioned myself to be what I always wanted to be, a man that helps people through philanthropic means, with a particular focus on my people, the so-called black ones. I'm not a wealthy man, I just did common sense things to position myself for a possible future. I have a wife who agrees with my character as a man, not a woman who agrees with my every word, which is exactly how another human being should be. I possess my decent health, my family's health, and I have a somewhat sound mind. I am grateful because I know that someday I won't have my health. I'm blessed because I have what truly matters. And I've never, not once, have turned my back to to a person in need. I've never ignored someone in need because they were so-called white or any other ethnicity. Think about it. Consider that. I've never turned my back to anyone that is any other ethnicity. How much of a black militant could I be? How much of a black culture soldier could I be if I gave a single dime to help a white man? The person that oppressed my ancestors. The person who doesn't want me walking behind them or sharing an elevator with them. The very reason I had to try 3 times as hard to put myself in proper position to succeed. What kind of real black man was I? Feeling and believing that we are all equal in the eyes of the universe and God, even though white culture historically has said otherwise. But the truth is, that is truly my character. I don't believe in division and I respect life. There comes a time when you fight so much that you lose yourself to the battle. You forget the person you are in your heart because you're always paranoid, looking over your shoulder, wondering what's next from the enemy. I had to learn to stop it. I had to realize that I'm in the driver's seat and I just had to have the confidence to put my hands on the steering wheel. Confidence in what I am and what I really am a part of. Black culture is many things. Again, black culture is many things. Since it is a human culture, it has greatness and sadness in its history and present. But above all, if I could sum up black culture in one word, it would be magnanimous. Meaning high-minded, noble, altruistic, selfless. That's the truth on the universal God. The truth is made evident by our historic and ongoing American and worldwide contributions to technology and society. Pay attention when I say magnanimous. This truth is also evident by overall benevolence toward this country. Look at everything that's happened in over 400 years. And the only black retributions to white oppression were Nat Turner and John Brown. Surely this country deserved more black retribution than that, right? Don't you think so, black men, women? All 45 million of us should have burned this country down to the ground. We should have been the first to storm the nation's capital. Black babies, little church girls, countless men, women, and children have been killed by white culture. Why haven't so-called black people responded to their mortal enemies in kind? Because we aren't black humans. The black man and the black woman is a lie. We aren't this color, nor are any of us the negative words associated with the word black. A simple mirror is your freedom. But we are black culture. Black culture is very real. We put in the work. We've manifested greatness in this country so much that they are still discovering it, and we are still creating it. We are human beings who were told a black human falsehood, had our history whitewashed or flat out erased as well, and forced to create an entire black culture, a very real way of life complete with music, arts, technology, language, love, and more as a means of survival in a society that literally feared and hated us. The culture is black, not the human. The culture is black and real. The black human is not a being. That's why a black nation can never exist. A nation built on a lie will not stand. The universe will not allow something unstable, unsuitable to be stable. You have to understand the energies that you are dealing with. That's why we can't seem to come together and get this black shit right, quote unquote, because the black man and white man is a lie. And lies do not make good building materials for a stable nation, which is why we continue to have a nation of instability. The content of the character, not the color of their skin. This is what MLK meant. The whole world knows what he meant. The entire world knows one of my favorite men. He was flawed, which is perfect, because that means we all have a chance to be just as great versus a Jesus standard that you can never really be. MLK is a part of black culture. Do you understand a little more? Black culture is many things: noble, altruistic, high-minded, spiritual, rhythmic, flawed, human. I am a human being of black culture. Regardless of how the world has treated me, black culture is the content of my character. And countless men and women of different colors have added to black culture. And if you noticed history, black culture was a direct response to white oppression. So those who are white that added to black culture did so because they saw the beauty and the righteousness of black culture versus the tyranny of white oppression. The white abolitionists knew slavery was wrong, so they sided with black freedom. The white singers felt more soul with our culture. The white dancers loved our clubs better. Black culture had freedom from oppression. Life does not like to be put in a box. Black culture is life. I will always be a soldier because I'm passionate. There is still a war going on. And in order to give the future, everyone, human, one race, a chance to be better than the last 4 centuries, the fictional white and black humans, the core programming used to continue this colorism and subsequent racism must be abolished. So-called whites started it. And ironically, we, the so-called blacks, we humans of black culture, have to be the ones to finish it. Because in order to really be about the spirit of black culture, you can't be fake. It'll get you or someone else killed. You can't be something you're not. You have to have soul, and you have to be against oppression. You have to be against division and segregation. You have to be of spirit. You have to be emotionally invested in something bigger than yourself. Quote unquote, connected to something, as Kwame Brown likes to say. Make America great again. Catchy slogan, but the truth is that black culture exists because America was never great the moment it established itself on blood and bodies. Don't you people realize that the only reason we know of the dead, the atrocities, the genocide, is because there are too many bodies to hide? No. With black culture as our guide and the lessons of over 400 years, we, humans of every shade, can make America greater than what it has ever been. So-called blacks, my people, our history was whitewashed, erased, hidden. We've been so busy being upset about what we lost that we didn't realize that we have a traceable black history. We don't have to be so confused anymore. Finally, it's been over 400 years. Look, our own undisputable, unquestionable lineage. Kings and queens of invention, kings of survival, queen warriors, king intellectuals, queen philosophers. All of this knowledge, this wonderful lineage, it's high time we use it.